probably the biggest start that got me into reading and collecting comics was I was about 12. I got sick with the flu for about a week, and my mum bought me a big stack of comics from the bookstore and all that, and there was a X Factor 35 was in there. Read it, went, okay, I must know what's happening, and then that continued on, and then unfortunately now I run a comic shop and try and read everything and anything, and that was 30 odd years ago.
So yeah, pretty much I've been into comics since I was 5 years old, and then stumbling upon my uncle's collection of comic books, and ever since then I've fallen in love with the world of comic books.
I guess being a bit older, when I was growing up, there was a lot less to distract us. We didn't have video games, didn't have cell phones, and all that. So you were either running around with a rugby ball or going to the library. And I've always enjoyed stories. Comics are the best way to get a lot of stories at once.
Both myself and Mikhail, who work at Arkham, when we started in this industry as retailers, we were the ones who were comic fanboys and customers who were just into our comics, but we'd go into the stores that we were comfortable with, and we'd just hang out and start chatting to the people running those stores. Myself in particular, I started going to Gotham Comics when it started up, and I was talking to Tony Gibson, who was in there, who was a very passionate man about comics, and he would talk on anything and everything. He just seemed to have this huge amount of knowledge, to the point where I was going to that store during my work lunchtime, being in this shop the entire hour, talking to anyone and everyone who was in there. Got to the point where I was hanging out so much, he asked if I'd look after the store for a little bit while he went to the bank. My little fanboy brain just went, hell yes, I'll do it. I was like, I'm behind the counter, I've got the power. And then it kind of rolled on from there. I ended up working 5 days a week and then going to Gotham and working on Sundays, just because I could.
I owned a pizza business, and I got robbed in it one night. The guy told me he was going to spread my brains over a wall, and I thought, you know what, if I'm going to get shot, I'd rather be shot in a comic shop than a pizza shop. So I decided I'd go and open up a comic shop. That was my catalyst. It's something I've always wanted to do, but it was something I never thought I would do.
So me personally, I've gone from being a retail manager and someone who has to answer to someone else to being complete and utter lord and supreme overlord of my own entity. And that's exciting and scary as hell. But I mean, it's a comic store. I have fun with these sort of things. I enjoy the medium that I'm selling. I enjoy the customers I deal with and chat to, who are fans on pretty much any and every level. Some of them are a little bit more dedicated to some than others.
As well as being a retail guy in the comic book store, which is pretty cool, I actually draw comics as well. Currently I'm working on Headlocked, which is an American pro wrestling comic. And another thing, I'm also a pro wrestler as well as a comic book artist, as well as a comic book store clerk. So that's kind of natural progression, is reading comic books and drawing them for me, and I've been lucky enough and fortunate enough to create comic books and be paid for it. So that's kind of cool, when you get paid to do something you love, like running a comic book store. It's it never feels like a job.
Well, with Free Comic Book Day, it's actually an international event promoting comics and reading and literacy, and we were part of it this year, and we also tied it in as the grand opening for our store.
Because of this year, it also coincided with what is affectionately known in the geek world as International Star Wars Day, being May the 4th, or May the 4th be with you.
In the end, we had about just under 500 people come through, grabbing up free comics, partaking in the madness that is the comic industry.
The day itself in the store was something I would never have expected in my wildest dreams for how busy the shop was. We had it was like an iPod release. You know, we had a queue outside the store all the way down to the corner street in the morning, but we also had a lot of things going on in the shop to make it more of an event than just free comic books. There's a lot of people, whenever something comes along technology-wise, you rush into it to make sure you're there, but sometimes it's okay to just sit back and see how it all evolves. So we did the internet and online buying 10, 11 years ago, and it turned out to be quite a headache because of the amount of stock that we had, as you can see. So it became a very laborious chore where we were constantly maintaining a website.
Digital comics, when they first came out, a lot of people were thinking that would be the end of printed comics and comic stores as we have. The thing is, we found in New Zealand, it's actually assisted and actually helped our business a lot more because people read them first online, either free or they'll get them cheap and they'll read them, they like them, then they'd actually come in and get people or themselves to buy the hard copy. So I mean, it's actually helping us in sales because we're getting a lot more people hunting out comic stores to come and buy things, and they're people who are buying items that they're already happy with, so they're going to have a very happy purchase. And as long as we don't stuff up our in-store act too much as such, people usually start coming back.
It's a double-edged sword because you end up with some people who, and I guess your generation, grow up expecting things to be free, and that's what's going on. So it's okay. The other side to it is young people like yourselves are reading comics, whereas in the past they weren't. So at least there's more people reading them, and that is translating into more sales. Or, some people read 50 free comics online and then come and buy one. Well, they come and buy one. In the past, they never even bought the one. So it's increasing the exposure, but at the same token, you end up with a group of customers who, for some reason, think anything that costs money is just a great rip-off. So.
There's a lot of things you can find out on the internet. The thing that you can't get though is actually talking to fans, talking to fellow collectors, people who are reading the same things or of the same mind. You still need that one-on-one thing, and that's what we find our comic store sort of does. We become pretty much the village green of the comic community. We're the safe haven, we're the place that anyone can come and talk to anyone else who's in store about what they're reading, what they're wanting to read, their likes, their dislikes, and they're not judged as such. They're not, oh, you're geeks talking about comics, but in this place, if you're not a geek, you're the outsider sort of thing.